The October wind cut through downtown Chicago like a blade, rattling the windows of Morrison and Associates law firm on the 32nd floor. I pressed my palm against the cold glass, watching the city sprawl beneath me, a maze of steel and concrete that had always felt more like a prison than a home. My reflection stared back. Disheveled brown hair that hadn't seen a proper cut in months. A wrinkled button-down shirt I'd thrown on after pulling a brutal double shift at Ricardo's restaurant. Eyes that held too much exhaustion and disappointment. For someone who'd just turned 27, the elevator ride up had been torture, my stomach churning with a mixture of grief and dread. 3 weeks since Dad's funeral, this was the first time the entire family would be in the same room since we'd stood around his casket. 3 weeks of sleepless nights, wondering what this moment would bring, knowing that whatever Dad had decided would be the final judgment on my life choices. "Michael, you made it." The voice belonged to Richard Morrison, Dad's longtime attorney and family friend for over 2 decades. His handshake was firm, but carried the weight of genuine sympathy. The kind reserved for grieving families who'd been through hell together. "I'm sorry for your loss, son. Your father was a good man, even when he was being stubborn." I nodded, unable to trust my voice. Dad had been gone for 3 weeks now, and the wound still felt raw and infected. Young, too sudden, too many things left unsaid between us. The last conversation we'd had was an argument about my wasted potential, as he'd called it. The memory of hanging up on him still made my chest tight with regret. "Is Derek here yet?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. The sleek black BMW M5 parked in the visitor's spot downstairs had been impossible to miss, along with the personalized license plate that read Winners Won, Classic Derek. "He's in the conference room with your stepmother and Emma." The conference room doors opened to reveal a scene that felt like stepping into a different world, one where success was measured. In designer labels and stock portfolios, Derek sat at the head of the polished mahogany table like he already owned it, his Armani suit immaculate, his perfectly styled blonde hair not showing a single strand out of place despite the Chicago wind outside. At 31, my older brother had inherited Dad's business acumen and ruthless ambition, building his tech startup into a multi-million-dollar empire before most people our age had figured out their career path. He was everything I'd failed to become, everything Dad had wanted me to be. Beside him sat Linda, Dad's second wife of 12 years, her manicured fingers clutching a tissue that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. She'd married Dad when I was 15, bringing her own daughter into our complicated family dynamic, though she'd never been openly cruel to me. There had always been an invisible wall between us, the understanding that I was Richard's son from his first marriage, not really part of her new family unit. Her daughter Emma, now 24, and fresh out of Northwestern with her MBA, sat rigidly in her chair. Her designer dress was a stark contrast to my thrift store attire, but unlike Derek, she'd always treated me with a kind of distant politeness that felt genuine rather than calculated. Well. Derek's voice carried that familiar condescending tone. "Look what the cat dragged in." "I wasn't sure you'd show up, little brother." I took a seat across from them. "Of course I'd show up. He was my father, too." Derek's laugh was sharp and bitter, echoing off the conference room walls. "Right? The father you barely spoke to for the last 2 years? The father whose calls you ignored while you were too busy playing chef in that sad excuse for a restaurant making barely above minimum wage?" The words hit their mark like expertly thrown knives. It was true, Dad and I had grown increasingly distant after I'd made the decision to drop out of Northwestern's business school in my junior year to pursue culinary arts at a community college. He'd seen it as throwing away my potential, squandering the opportunities he'd worked so hard to provide. I'd seen his disappointment as proof that I'd never be good enough, that I'd always be the family failure. The fights had gotten worse over the years. Every family gathering became a battlefield, with Dad asking pointed questions about my career plans and me getting defensive about my choices. The last time we'd spoken, he'd offered to pay for me to go back to school to fix this mistake, as he'd put it. I'd hung up on him. I was too proud and too hurt to hear the love behind his frustration. Morrison cleared his throat, clearly uncomfortable with the family tension that was thick enough to cut with a knife. "Perhaps we should begin. As you know, your Father was very specific about how he wanted his affairs handled. He spent considerable time with me over the past year, making sure every detail was perfect. He opened a thick folder, extracting several documents with the gravity of someone who'd done this many times before, but never got used to the pain it caused families. The will is quite straightforward in most respects. Derek, as the eldest son and current head of the family business interests, you inherit the majority of the estate. This includes the Chicago penthouse overlooking Lakeshore Drive, the Lake Michigan vacation home in Harbor Springs, the investment portfolio valued at approximately $12 million, and controlling interest in Thompson Industries. Derek's smile was triumphant, but there was something else there, relief. He'd been Dad's chosen successor for years, groomed to take over the family business empire, and this moment was validation of everything he'd worked for. Linda, you inherit the suburban family home in Winnetka, where you've built so many memories. Together, along with a generous trust fund that will provide for your needs indefinitely. You'll never have to worry about financial security. Linda nodded tearfully, clutching her tissue tighter. You receive your college trust fund as previously arranged, plus an additional $200,000 to help you start your career. The room fell silent, except for the ticking of the grandfather clock in the corner, each second stretching like an eternity. I waited, my heart hammering against my ribs, but Morrison seemed to be finished with his recitation. What about Michael? Emma asked quietly. Morrison consulted his papers. I'm afraid there's no provision for Michael in the primary will. Derek's laughter filled the void, a sound that would haunt my dreams for years to come. Nothing? Derek wheezed between fits of cruel amusement. Dad left the family disappointment absolutely nothing. Oh, that's rich. That's just perfect. 27 years old, and you've got nothing to show for it. No inheritance, no real career, no girlfriend, no prospects. Even Dad finally gave up on you. The shame burned in my chest like acid, spreading through my veins like poison. I'd known. Dad was disappointed in me. I'd felt it every time he looked at me with those tired, frustrated eyes, but this felt like a final, crushing verdict on my worth as a son, as a human being. Here was the proof, in black and white legal documents, that I was exactly what Derek had always said I was: worthless. I should go, I mumbled, starting to rise from my chair, my legs feeling unsteady beneath me. I wanted to run, to disappear, to find a dark corner somewhere and pretend this moment had never happened. Wait, Morrison said.
Ow.
There is one more thing. He reached into his briefcase and withdrew a sealed envelope. Distinctly different from the others, cream-colored, expensive paper with a weight that suggested importance. With my name written in Dad's distinctive handwriting across the front. In blue ink, your father left very specific instructions about this, Morrison said, his voice carrying an odd note of anticipation. This envelope was to be opened only after the primary will had been read in full, and only if you were present. To hear it? He was quite insistent about the timing. Derek's laughter died abruptly, replaced by suspicion. What kind of game is this? Some sort of consolation prize? Final guilt trip from beyond the grave? Morrison broke the seal, revealing a letter and a small brass key. He read silently, eyebrows rising. It's addressed to Michael, but there's also instructions for me. He looked up. Michael, your father has left you something after all, something he considered more valuable than money. Derek leaned forward, confidence wavering. There's a safe deposit box at First National Bank, but there's more. Your father also left you a business, a restaurant. My heart stopped. A restaurant? Your father purchased a property 6 months ago in Lincoln Park. It's been renovated according to his specifications. The letter says it's called Michael's Place. The room erupted. Derek shot to his feet. This is impossible. Dad would never. There's more, Morrison continued. The restaurant comes with a trust fund for operational expenses. The trust is worth $2 million? Linda gasped. Derek's reaction was volcanic. This is fraud. Dad was losing his mind. He would never give that loser, Derek, Linda snapped. You manipulated him, Derek accused me. played on his guilt about your pathetic career. I stared at the key. I didn't know about any of this. The letter explains everything, Morrison said. Would you like me to read it aloud? I nodded. Morrison unfolded the paper. My dear Michael, if you're hearing this, then I'm gone, and I pray you'll forgive an old man's pride. I wasn't the father you deserved. I was so focused on what I thought you should be that I forgot to see who you actually were. But I watched you, son. I watched you work 16-hour days, treat coworkers with respect, create something beautiful. It's not failure, that's passion. My eyes burned with tears. The restaurant is my apology and my belief in you. I've seen your talent, even if I was too stubborn to say so. Build something there, Michael. The safe deposit box contains your grandmother's recipes, the ones you loved as a child. I love you, son. I always did. I just forgot how to show it. Prove me right. Silence followed. Derek's face had gone pale. This doesn't change anything, Derek said, but his voice lacked conviction. A restaurant? He'll fail within 6 months. Maybe, I said, standing. But it'll be my failure. When can I see it? I asked Morrison. Tomorrow morning. I have the keys. As I walked toward the door, Derek called out, this is just Dad's guilt talking, right? He threw you a bone. I paused. Maybe, but it's also a chance. And that's more than I had when I walked in here. Outside, the October wind felt different. Less cutting, more bracing. I pulled out my phone. Maria, it's Michael. I need to tell you something. Everything's about to change. The morning sun cast shadows across Lincoln Park as I stood before 1247 North Wells Street. The building looked modest-street brick with large windows, a green awning, reading Michael's Place in gold lettering. But as the door opened, I stepped into something extraordinary. Warm hardwood floors gleamed under soft lighting. Exposed brick walls gave rustic elegance. The dining room seated 40 comfortably, with booth seating and intimate table arrangements. But the kitchen made my heart race. Professional-grade everything. 6-burner gas range. Wood-fired pizza oven. Walk-in cooler. Prep stations designed with kitchen efficiency in mind.
Dad
had thought of everything. Impressive, isn't it? A woman. In her 50s, stood in the doorway, silver hair and a practical bun, wearing chef's whites with earned confidence. Nancy Rodriguez. I was your father's consultant on this project. 25 years in restaurants, retired last year. He hired me to design the kitchen layout. I shook her calloused hand. You knew my father? For 8 months. It was intense. Very specific. He showed me dozens of layouts before we settled on this one. Said it had to be perfect for someone who moved like a dancer when he cooked. The words hit like a physical blow. Dad had said that about me once, years ago. He talked about you constantly. Showed me videos of you working at Ricardo's. Said, you had hands like an artist? He recorded me? Hours of footage? He was proud, Michael. Prouder than you know. I leaned against the prep counter, overwhelmed. If he was proud, why didn't he say anything? Why did we fight? Because he was scared. Scared his son was choosing a path that would break his heart. He'd seen talented people fail in this business. He wanted security for you, not dreams. But then why this? I guess he realized that security without passion isn't living, it's existing. And he didn't want that for you anymore, Michael. You in here? Maria Santos pushed through the kitchen doors, dark hair in a ponytail, wearing her determined expression from culinary school. Maria, what are you doing here? You called last night, remember? She looked around with awe. Holy shit, Michael. This is incredible. Nancy chuckled. Take it this is the sous chef your father mentioned? What? I looked between them, confused. Your father did his research? He knew about Maria, your partnership at Ricardo's. He hoped you'd run this place together. Maria's eyes widened. He knew about me? He knew about all of you? Tommy Chen, Jessica Williams, Carlos Mendoza. He ate at Ricardo's every month for the past year. Always table 12. Always ordered different dishes. He was studying your work, Michael. Table 12. The quiet older man who complimented the food, left generous tips, asked for my dishes specifically, never looked closely, too busy with kitchen chaos. He was there the night you created that salmon dish with maple glaze, called me the next day, said he'd never seen you happier than when explaining the inspiration. My phone buzzed. Derek. Lawyers are reviewing the will. This restaurant stunt won't stand. Dad wasn't in his right mind. I showed Maria, whose expression darkened. Your brother's going to fight this? He's going to try. Nancy pulled out a thick folder. Everything. Menu concepts, supplier contacts, staffing recommendations, marketing strategies. He spent months on this, Michael. This wasn't a whim, it was a business plan. The folder revealed handwritten notes in Dad's script, menu ideas based on my favorite ingredients, supplier contacts from Illinois farms, wine lists, complimenting my cooking style. Look at this. Nancy pointed to Michael's strengths. Listed were observations about my technique, creativity, leadership, under pressure. At the bottom, he has the heart of a chef and the soul of a leader. He just needs to believe in himself. There's more. He left video messages. For you, for Maria, for the others. The office upstairs was small, but functional. Nancy powered up a laptop, and Dad's face appeared, looking healthier than in months. If you're watching this, son, then you've seen the restaurant. I hope you love it as much as I loved planning it for you. His voice was softer, more vulnerable. I made mistakes as your father. I tried to force you into a mold that was never right. But watching you work, seeing the joy when you create something new, ... I realized I was trying to fix something that was never broken. He paused, eyes bright with tears. This restaurant is my apology, but also my investment. Not in a building, but in you, in your dreams, in the man you've become, despite my interference. The video continued with practical matters, but the final message broke me. I love you, Michael. I've always loved you. I just forgot how to show it without trying to change you. Build something beautiful here. Know that wherever I am, I'll be proud of you. My phone rang. Morrison. Michael, I need to see you immediately. Your brother has filed for a competency hearing. He's claiming your father was mentally incapacitated. Can he do that? Can try, but your father anticipated this. He left a second letter specifically addressing Derek's potential challenge. Walking. Out of Michael's place, I felt the weight of possibility and responsibility. Dad had given me more than a restaurant, he'd given me a chance to prove myself. But Derek wasn't going to make it easy. Morrison's office buzzed with tension. Derek sat flanked by two expensive lawyers, Victoria Hartwell from Hartwell and Associates. Sharp-faced with silver hair, we're filing a motion to contest the validity of your father's wishes regarding the restaurant, Hartwell announced. Derek leaned forward. On the grounds that Dad was clearly not in his right mind, the man I knew would never waste $2 million on your pipe dream. Your father's mental state was documented, Morrison countered. He underwent psychological evaluation for months ago. Dr. Elizabeth Carter found him of sound mind. Mental evaluations don't account for emotional manipulation, Hartwell said. We believe Michael took advantage of his father's guilt. It's bullshit, Maria said. Michael didn't even know about the restaurant. Nancy stepped forward. I worked with your father for 8 months planning this. He was lucid, focused, absolutely clear about his intentions. I have recordings, meeting notes, emails documenting his commitment. Your father knew you'd fight this, Nancy told Derek. He said, Derek will see this as money wasted on Michael's failure. But he won't understand that supporting someone's dreams isn't wasteful, it's necessary. Derek's face flushed. He was manipulated. He was heartbroken, Nancy interrupted. Heartbroken that his son thought so little of him. Morrison withdrew the second envelope. Your father left this specifically for this moment. He wanted you to hear this if you challenged his decision. He read, Derek, if you're hearing this, then you've chosen to fight Michael's inheritance. I'm disappointed but not surprised. You've always seen the world in terms of winners and losers, profits and losses. But love isn't a business transaction. And families aren't corporations. Derek's jaw tightened. You received the bulk of my estate because you've proven you can manage money. But Michael received the restaurant because he's proven he can create joy, and joy is rarer than profit. Don't punish him for choosing passion over security. Morrison set up a video call with Dr. Carter, who appeared on screen. Mr. Thompson was alert, articulate, showed no cognitive impairment. He spoke extensively about his sons, expressing regret about his relationship with Michael. He was very clear about wanting to support Michael's career meaningfully. In your professional opinion, was he capable of sound financial decisions? Absolutely. His decision was consistent with a man trying to repair a damaged relationship. After the call ended, Derek remained defiant. Dad was always too emotional about Michael, felt guilty, so he made a bad business decision. Even if true, it was his money to waste, Morrison said, and his son to support. I found my voice. Derek, why are you doing this? You got everything else? Derek stood, composure cracking. Because it's not fair. I've worked my ass off while you played in kitchens. I earned Dad's respect through success, and you get rewarded for failure? You think I failed? Look at your life. 27 years old, working in someone else's restaurant, living in a studio apartment. If that's not failure, what is? The words stung because they contained truth. You're right, I said quietly. I don't have your success, but I have something you don't. What's that? I have Dad's belief in me. Finally, Derek's face went pale. He left you his money because he knew you could handle it. But he left me his hope because he knew I needed it. I stood to face him. Can fight this in court, but you can't fight the fact that Dad saw something in me worth investing in. Linda spoke for the first time. Derek, please. This isn't what your father would have wanted. Dad's dead, Derek said harshly. What he wanted doesn't matter anymore. It matters to me, I said. And it should matter to you. 3 months later, I stood in Michael's Place kitchen at 5:30 a.m., prepping vegetables for evening service. The legal battle had been brutal depositions, hearings, endless meetings, but tonight, win or lose, we were opening. Behind you, chef, Tommy Chen called, carrying pasta to the cooler. He'd quit Ricardo's to join me, despite uncertain futures. How's the salmon? I asked Maria at the grill station. 40 portions prepped, plus backup. Jessica confirmed 28 reservations. Carlos says the bar's stocked. We'd fought to open. Despite Derek's challenges, using Nancy's contingency fund and personal savings, Chef Jessica appeared in the doorway. Someone here to see you. Nancy sat at a corner table, laptop open, huge smile on her face. Michael, I have news. Morrison just called. The judge ruled in your favor. Derek's challenge has been dismissed. Relief hit like a wave. Are you serious? Completely, Dr. Carter's. Testimony was crucial, but the evidence of your father's planning was the game changer. The restaurant is yours, officially. Before I could respond, the front door chimed. Derek walked in, looking older than his 31 years, usual confidence replaced by uncertainty. Derek, I heard about the ruling. Yeah, well, congratulations. Always lacked its usual edge. Is that why you're here? No, I... ... He looked around the dining room, taking in warm lighting, carefully arranged tables, photos of local farms. I wanted to see what $2 million bought. I led him through the space. In the kitchen, he watched our team work with quiet efficiency. Tommy teaching Carlos to dice onions. Maria explaining seasoning to Jessica. The camaraderie was obvious. They actually like working here, Derek said, more to himself. Good leadership isn't about fear. It's about respect. In the office, I opened Dad's laptop and found the video meant for Derek. He left one for you too. Dad's face appeared, expression stern, almost parental. Derek, if you're watching this, then you've challenged Michael's inheritance. I'm disappointed, son. I raised you to be better than this. Derek's jaw tightened, but he kept watching. You've always been driven, ambitious, successful, good qualities. But somewhere along the way, you started measuring worth by net worth. You began to see love as a limited resource that had to be earned through achievement. The words hit their mark. Derek's composure cracked. I love you, Derek. I'm proud of your success. But I'm also worried about your soul. Success without compassion is just sophisticated greed. Don't let winning become more important than loving. The video ended. Take care of your brother, Derek. He's going to need your support more than your judgment.
Oh.
Derek stared at the blank screen. He was always better at making me feel guilty than proud. Maybe because guilt was the only emotion that got through to you. Derek laughed without humor. You know what the worst part is? He was right. About everything. I spent so much time trying to earn his approval that I forgot to actually be worthy of it. He stood, walking to the window overlooking the dining room. I watched your team work. They respect you, Michael. They genuinely care about what you're building. When's the last time my employees looked at me like that? You can change that. Can I? I've spent years being the asshole who gets results. I don't know how to be anything else. Dad didn't know either. That's why he started over with me. Derek was quiet. I ate here last week, alone at the bar. I ordered that salmon. Dish Dad loved watching you make. I remember table 7. You sent it back. No, I sent it back because it was too good. Because it made me realize that you're not the failure I needed you to be. The admission hung between us. I needed you to fail because your success would mean Dad was right to believe in dreams over security. And if Dad was right about that, then maybe I'd been wrong about everything else. I'm sorry, Michael. Sorry for fighting the will, for the lawyers, for trying to take this away. But mostly sorry for making you feel like you had to choose between family and dreams. I felt years of resentment begin to shift. You're still my brother, Derek, but everything else has changed. You're going to be successful here, really successful. Not have to live with trying to stop you. You don't have to live with it alone. Derek looked curious. Dad left you a business empire, but he left me a family restaurant. Emphasis on family. What are you saying? Michael's place could use an investor, someone who understands business but is willing to learn hospitality, someone who needs to remember what building feels like instead of just acquiring. Derek's eyes widened. You want me to invest in the restaurant? Want you to invest in us? The family? The relationship we should have had? You'd trust me after everything? Dad trusted both of us with his legacy. Maybe it's time we trusted each other. Derek extended his hand. Partners, brothers, I corrected, shaking it. The dinner service was everything I'd dreamed. The dining room filled with satisfied customers. The kitchen ran smoothly, and the team worked with shared purpose. Derek stayed for the entire service, watching from the corner booth, learning to see the business through new eyes. As the last customer left, I found myself where I'd first entered Michael's place. The brass key from Dad's envelope hung by the door, a reminder of the moment everything changed. You did it, Maria said, appearing beside me. We did it, all of us. Derek approached, suit jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up from helping with closing duties. So what's next? Tomorrow we do it again, and the day after that. Sounds like a plan, Derek said, and for the first time in years, his smile was genuine. Outside, Chicago's October wind still cut through the streets, but it no longer felt like a blade. It felt like change inevitable, necessary, and finally welcome. Dad's legacy wasn't just the restaurant or money. It was the lesson that love isn't earned through achievement, it's given freely. It's even when it's hard. As I locked up that first night, I knew Dad would have been proud. Not just of the restaurant, but of the family we were finally learning to be.